To Manchester, welcome those of us joining us online as well. My name is David Summer. I'm the co-founder at Kudos, and it's my privilege to chair the ALPS judging panel. Special thanks go to PA Editorial, who are sponsoring the Impact and Innovation Awards this year, so thank you to Lizzie and the team at PA Editorial. I'd also like just to take a moment to acknowledge our amazing judging panel. We have 11 people representing publishers, vendors, libraries, consultants, standards bodies, so they really represent the entire community that we are from. So thank you so much to Ian Craig, Richard Geddy, Robert Ianello, Alice Meadows, Fabienne Michon, Louise Russell, Steve Sharp, David Smith, Elaine Sykes, and Alexandra Winsler. So thank you so much for your time. This year we received 22 nominations or submissions across the 2 different awards, and we've narrowed that down to 3 finalists for the Impact Award and 4 for the Innovation Awards. So the Impact Award, first of all, it's now in its 2nd year. This award recognises initiatives, projects, campaigns, collaborations that demonstrate beneficial impact within the scholarly publishing communities. And our 3 finalists for the ALPS Impact Award this year are JSTOR Access in Prison Initiative, which provides access to the same library of academic journals and resources available on traditional college campuses. OJS, the Open Journal System, which removes barriers to scholarly publications for researchers worldwide. And the Forest of Biologists, which is a biopositive publishing initiative from the Company of Biologists. And then for the Innovation Award, our long-standing award, which recognises products, services, technologies, business models, and projects that are particularly innovative and have significant value, we have 4 finalists. For the Innovation Award, the finalists are Maurissier Integrity Manager, which is integrity technology in a single platform. Research Organisation Registry, RAW, which is free and open persistent identifiers for research organisations. Signals, which provides the community with the information they need to understand the trustworthiness of research articles, and the paper mill alarm, which detects signs of organised research fraud prior to peer review. So could we take a moment to acknowledge all 7 of our finalists? So you're now going to hear from each of those finalists. They're going to have 7 minutes each to give an overview of their submission. So I'll endeavour to keep everybody on time so that you can get time to have a quick drink before the Taylor Swift musical. More about that later. We are going to start with the Impact Award, and our first speaker is Stacey Burnett from the JSTOR Access to Prison Initiative. So over to you, Stacey.
We have a lot to cover in 7 minutes, so I'm going to go really fast. So my name is Stacey Burnett. I manage JSTOR Access in Prison. We deliver scholarly material to more than 1 million people who are incarcerated, spread across 1,500 prisons, jails, and detention centers in 19 countries. Before I launch into the novelty, impact, and the future direction of this initiative, I'm going to take a moment to orient you to the knowledge landscape inside prisons. It may shock you. I call them information deserts. Those concrete walls that are designed to keep people in also keep information out. Access to media, books, journals, newspapers, the internet, all of that is restricted inside these facilities. There are media review policies that govern what types of information are permitted inside. In places like Louisiana in the United States, prison administrators have banned more than 7,000 book titles and publications. Administrative acceptance, though, is only the first hurdle. There's also technological barriers. Very few prison systems have a cohesive technology program. Fewer than 10 prisons in the United States allow access to the internet for people in custody. Before JSTOR Access in Prison made self-directed research possible, most professors compiled articles in readers like you see here, and the students would conduct their research based on the materials that was provided to them in that course reader. That was in a California prison. Here you see that after COVID-19, technology became more prevalent inside our prisons. Most connect to an intranet, which is tightly controlled, government approved, and tightly surveilled. Tablets, which are becoming ubiquitous all over the world inside prisons, have pre-selected titles that people can choose from, but people who are incarcerated make an average of less than 20 cents an hour, and they need to pay from their pocket to research and read the materials that are furnished to them. There are no academic libraries inside a prison. Colleges and universities now are operating inside prisons in the United States. They'd been absent for over a generation. That means there was no infrastructure for knowledge transfer to take place inside those facilities. Librarians were tasked with conducting the research on behalf of an incarcerated individual based on a topic that they were provided. Self-directed academic research was impossible in a prison in the same way it is on a traditional college campus until now. In the span of just under 3 years, JSTOR Access in Prison has enabled students inside jails and prisons to conduct their own research. They can search topics that are of interest to them, see search results that aren't restricted in any way. On our platform, if a person is looking for information about Malcolm X, they can see results that show that there is scholarly material available about Malcolm X. The facility may not enable them to actually read it, but at least they know that somebody out there has conducted the research and that content is available, and they know that they can look for it after they get home. We launched a beta version of an AI research tool, and it was available inside a prison. 96% of the usage across the entire beta group occurred inside this prison. When people have access to the tools, they use it. One county jail outside of, see what happened when we made AI available in that facility? It was crazy. One county jail outside of Boston was afraid to add JSTOR because they had 20 students and only 5 terminals. They expected violence, fighting to break out over a finite resource. And actually what happened was the opposite. Because it was a limited resource, the people in custody had to learn how to work together. A spirit of cooperation broke out, not only in the computer lab where JSTOR was available, it carried over into the housing unit. It goes with our mission. JSTOR is committed to the democratization of knowledge and normalizing ready access of information to people who are incarcerated. And these values guided our sustainability planning. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but it's really important to us that those people who are earning 20 cents an hour aren't being expected to pay for access to information. We want everybody in prison to have access to JSTOR, but the first step is to making sure that the colleges are supported. We view the people who are incarcerated as extensions of the student body on the traditional campus, and so that means that we don't charge extra. That's another difference about the way JSTOR has approached this space. It's not another market segment to be monetized. We're talking about doing the ethical thing and making knowledge available to people who are inside. Because if you don't have access to any information, you are vulnerable to bad information. And 95% of the people who are incarcerated are coming home someday. They don't have the tools to participate in society if they don't know what is a lie and what is the truth. The other reason we made generative AI available in the beta group to the prison was because we wanted to normalize access to technology for a group of people who are consistently excluded from that conversation. And in prisons, no one ever wants to be the first. There's a lot of risk in being the first. These are some, if you're interested in the deck is available, this is some of the rules that pertain to how information is allowed inside. This is also an example of some of the custom tools that we built for prisons. Even though they're using JSTOR online in most cases, many have digital equity issues. They don't even know how to turn a computer on in many cases because they haven't seen one in 20 years. This is 4 nations are in test mode, but those are all the countries all over the world where they have JSTOR access in prison. And I'd like to leave you with some student perspectives. One of my favorite is, I forget that I'm in prison when I'm researching. I lose track of time, and in prison, that's a gift. I use JSTOR for everything now: legal work, classwork, and arguing issues with my cellie. That tells us that learning is happening, and new ways of being in this world are being facilitated by having access to knowledge. We're really grateful, and I'd like to thank ALPS for recognizing us, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much indeed, Stacey. That was excellent. So our next speaker is John Wilinski from OJS, the Open Journal System. John.
Stacey, thank you. That was very inspiring. Sorry. Let me introduce myself, and I'll introduce Open Journal Systems. I'm a professor of education. I've been a member of of scholarly societies my whole career. And about 25 years ago, as you read this, so you have to do 2 things, listen and read, which I'm sure you're very good at. 25 years ago, I got very interested in open access, and I realized the challenges that my society and publishers generally were facing. And so I decided I could help. I decided there might be one way I could provide some support. And because I worked in classrooms and worked with technology, I had some idea about how we could support technology workflows. And so 25 years ago, I developed Open Journal Systems as a publishing platform. You can think about it as Scholar One combined with Adapon. And in fact, it does combine the two because I was a researcher. I didn't know they were separate. And so I thought if you built a system, it had to do everything. So we built the system, and in order to help publishers, and I was hearing about the challenges, we made it free, open source. And so the publishing platform then is available, easy to download, install, and distribute. And we have had trouble tracking it, in fact. It's been taken up so widely. But I wanted to start with the notion of why I'm so old and why this impact award comes 25 years after I started. I've already been asked twice this question. And don't feel embarrassed, people. I know. But the truth of it is we had no idea how widely it had spread. It took us years to do the tracking. And we were a little bit humble about it in the sense that we weren't sure if that's really an impact or not. But now that it's the largest, or excuse me, most widely used system in the world, I thought it was time to maybe get out and meet a few people and say hello. Because publishing societies and scholarly and professional societies have been such a part of what has supported my career, it's been time to give back. So in terms of the use, there's 44,000 journals around the world that are using this, and that number is huge, and I can remember when it was 0, and I can remember when it was 5 and 10. So it has grown with nothing more than the ability to freely download it. We're a group of scholars. We work in a university setting. I didn't give up my day job. I have classes and students. But open source software has a way of spreading. A community supports it. And I'll give you some more examples of that. This is the use that's being made of it in terms of disciplines. I come from the field of education, so I thought it would catch on there. I've been stunned about how widely it's being used. And these are contributions, if you think about it. 44,000 journals is over 1.5 million, close to 2 million articles a year that are freely circulating. And that of those 44,000, 80% are in the global south and are participating in a way that wasn't feasible previously. Jake in his keynote earlier mentioned the global equity aspect. And this system has served that role. It complements the work that you do by providing a global reach. And one of our challenges is to ensure that all of that research gets indexed, all of it has quality controls and checks. And tomorrow I'm presenting on one of those quality controls in the industry updates. And finally, the language question. What has also surprised us was, in fact, just 2 years ago, we learned that there are 60 languages being used to publish research, as we went through and checked. OJS has been translated into 30 or so languages, some of them not quite up to date, by the community. So this is a community-supported endeavor. It's financed by library membership. It's financed by a small group of about 800 journals that pay us to host it. It's financed by research grants within the university context that I work in as part of our research program. So the upshot of this is that we have provided a supplement, an alternative, a viable means for moving into open access that addresses your needs. And as all of you are part of scholarly and professional societies, I want you to think about your membership as a potential source of contributions. I saw it as a responsibility in terms of public education, in terms of my role as a former school teacher. And I think there are many members of your societies who might also look for opportunities to contribute to the publishing work that you do. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, John. So next up is Claire Moulton from the Forest of Biologists. Claire.
So I'm going to now talk about trees. So in a nutshell, the Forest of Biologists involves us planting a new tree for each article that we publish in our journals. And we also help to protect existing trees in ancient woodland on behalf of our peer reviewers. On top of that, we developed a website through which our community could track our progress and have a little bit of fun. So if I sort of dig into why we did this, it came from really serious intent at the company level. We know that biologists worldwide are really concerned about climate change and also about biodiversity loss, given that it's now accepted that we're moving into the next mass extinction event. So we were talking about our role representing the community of biologists, and we believed that they would expect us to take some action in this area. So this project was initiated by scientists. It's not from the marketing team. And we really wanted the science to be right here. So we worked closely with plant scientists, with foresters, and we also engaged a group of early career researchers who work in this area to make sure that the principles that we were using about what we were doing in the project, but also our communications got this right. So one of my key messages is this is a focus on environment and biodiversity. It's not a carbon offsetting scheme. So we chose the Woodland Trust as our partner. And that actually reflected very well. We got a great response from the community about that. The Woodland Trust is the UK's largest woodland charity, and they also have a focus on, obviously, climate change and biodiversity. We decided to plant our trees in the UK, not only because we could visit them, which that is nice, but it's because, unfortunately, the UK is one of the most nature-depleted countries on Earth, with only about half of its biodiversity remaining. So we started to look at Woodland Trust sites across the UK to decide which ones we were going to work with. We decided to plant our new trees at the Young People's Forest at Mead in Derbyshire. This was former open cast mine, so this is a genuine transformation of the site into new forest. And the Woodland Trust love to plant their new trees alongside existing woodland so that the biodiversity can flow out and expand into the new area. Very much a focus on UK deciduous trees. We've got a chart there showing you the mix of species we've been planting. But we particularly loved the educational element at this site, working with the young people to not only plant the trees, but also to make the stewardship decisions about the site and how it would work in the future. Obviously, we do visit the site and we can see how the trees are growing and also how the site is developing. In terms of protecting trees and ancient woodland, we selected the Great Knot Wood, which is a beautiful woodland overlooking Lake Windermere in the Lake District National Park. These ancient woodlands contain more threatened species than any other UK terrestrial habitat. And they are so precious. They are a mix of bugs and slugs, lichens and fungi. And the mix of species at each site is unique. So if it's gone, it's gone. So the work on the site includes protecting veteran trees, removal of non-native species, and also very careful work to maintain the light levels within the woodland. Again, we visit, and it was the Lake District, so it rains a lot. I mentioned that we built a virtual forest online. So it was to keep track of our progress, but also to have a bit of fun. The idea is that the trees look cartoony, and that they look vibrant and fun. We've added a little bit of biodiversity in there. There are some fungi, there are some bluebells, and there's been a great deal of hilarity about whether the stacks of trunks there are actually retracted articles. They're not. Our readers, when they're reading an article, they can see a leaf icon that they can click through to come and visit the forest. And our authors and peer reviewers can tweet their tree. On the site, you can see which tree has been planted for which article or for which peer reviewer. We also provide more information about the species that we're planting, with a bit of biological information, of course. And you can see which woodland your tree has been planted in. And I just wanted to share, we started to get some really great feedback, but I liked this one. It says, this initiative reminds me that good people still do good things for good reasons. So they could see, I think our messaging was right. And I also wanted to show off that Forest of Biologists shortens nicely to For Biologists. So we were then overwhelmed with amazing positive feedback from our community. And I can tell you that our exhibition stand, the most common question now is, how can I get a tree? So I thought I'd share some of the quotes from the community, mainly for the graphics. So this one is basically saying that now articles equal trees. This is pulling out the social action of the education behind the Young People's Forest at Derbyshire. And this one I love. You get a cute virtual tree and a cute virtual forest that just screams video game vibes. And that was exactly what we were going for in building the website. But you also need to be sensitive to any negative feedback. And there was one concern raised. Is this just one of those £1 a tree, cheap carbon offsetting schemes where you plant trees in the wrong place and you don't even know that those trees are still going to be there in a few years' time? We were able to provide the information from the Woodland Trust and more that reassured the community, and they found the cost of £16 per new tree planted reassuringly expensive. So in summary, in the first phase, we've planted new trees, helped to protect existing trees for a fairly hefty price tag of £80,000. That doesn't include the website or anything else. The Company of Biologists is going to be celebrating its centenary next year, and you can be sure that sustainability is going to be a key feature. So what we really hope is that with each article we publish, we have one tiny impact on the environment and biodiversity. And by expanding that across all of our articles, we will make a real significant impact. We also hope it's an encouraging case to other publishers for biopositive publishing. And if you would like to join us in being good people doing good things for good reasons, please do talk to me at the conference or afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Claire. So those were our Impact Award finalists. We're now going to move on to the Innovation Awards. And first up is Robin Mugridge from Maurissier Integrity Manager. Robin.
Thank you very much. I need to go see that online forest. That was very cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Robin Mugridge, and I am a sales director at Maurissier. We wanted to begin today by saying thank you. Thank you for making research integrity a priority for this year's ALPSP Innovation in Publishing Award. We'd like to tell you how Maurissier's Integrity Manager came to be. We are a workflows solutions company, and we've been working in the publishing industry since 2014. And during that time, we've seen a huge demand in the need for modern-day technology to meet the needs of modern-day journal publishing. And we believe that collaboration is key to delivering upon that demand. But collaboration doesn't just happen by itself. We need to actually get the ball rolling, and that is exactly what we did. After working in the conference proceedings and abstract space for a number of years, we realized that there was a need to add integrity checks to those proceedings. We developed proprietary checks to be able to deliver upon this, and then we went the extra mile. We started to reach out to other tools, other solutions in the industry so that we could have everything in one tool, one solution to address those problems. But we didn't want it to just be a standalone tool sitting outside of the workflow. It needed to be an integrated part of the workflow. And that has really influenced the development of our end-to-end system, Journal Manager. And our tool is already having a real-world impact. These are just some of our partners currently using our tool to protect their publications from research integrity issues and fraud. And one of the unique benefits of Mercier's Integrity Manager is, as I said, it's all of those industry solutions in the one tool. I really like to think of it as a cake, mainly because I love cake. We have the infrastructure, the foundations that really form that basis. And then we have the lovely jammy center, which is Mercier's in-house developed checks. So we have checks such as our retracted references check, and we also check for institution verification, for example, as well as many more. And this has really meant that we could combine all of these and add that lovely topping of third-party integrated checks to make Mercier's cake really quite delicious. And we've heard from our partners that we need to take things one step further. It's not enough just to flag issues. We need to empower users to take action. So we've developed an integrity investigations module. This is where users can go on into the module within the publisher, assign cases, they can collaborate, they can contact authors, and resolve issues. And we're also working with partners to be able to support them in their application for indexing databases. So a lot of publishers need to have a look at their citation behavior, citation relationships, and the overall integrity health of their journals, and we're supporting that. So let's take a little look at the platform in action. Hopefully this video will work. Yes. So welcome to Integrity Manager. So this is the investigations workflow module, and this is where the publisher would come in with their integrity team member to manage all of those ongoing investigations. So let's imagine I want to open an investigation. This is my workspace. This is where I could go to manage it. And you can see all of the ongoing investigations on the screen, but there's a few different options here as well, because priority can be assigned either manually or it can be assigned automatically. So there's a few different automated configurations that are available, and that really depends on the types of checks, the things that have been flagged, for example. We can also do some filtering, so we can filter by status, by priority, or by assignee, and some stale cases. So if some have been left for a little while, we can flag those. We can also allocate it to a team member. So if I have a colleague on my team, I think actually they'd be much better at this than me. I can assign it to them. Or again, I can do that automatically if needed. Let's look at the checks. So you do have some basic information about the submission, and here are some of the checks and the activity log. And sometimes with checks, with any technology, there might be false positives. So I can flag if there's a false positive, or if I've made a mistake, I can just revert it. So you can see here again, everything is captured in the activity log. So let's say with this manuscript, I would actually like to contact the author directly. I can do that by going through the system, contact them, personalize my message, and I can also get their response in the system when it's available. Actually, now I think I really need to escalate this to a colleague. I need to tell my boss, I'm really not sure what to do with this. So I'm going to escalate this to a colleague, send them a message, and automatically assign this manuscript to them. Now I've decided I'm ready to make my decision. Let's say I've already spoken to my colleague, and I can conclude the investigation, and again, everything would be reflected in the data. So you can see it combines both the checks and also that end-to-end investigation workflow. Just to run through a few of our next developments, because we are constantly developing this, new sprints delivered every 2 weeks. We are working on author disambiguation and trust markers. We're going to be working more with journals for their indexing applications. We're also bringing out more and more new checks. I'm really excited about our cross-submission checks, for example, and bringing out more citation manipulation indicators. And lastly, we're going to be bringing out detailed analytics dashboards, and again, integrating with our new product Journal Manager, our end-to-end publishing workflow. Thank you very much. If you'd like to hear more, come and find me after.
Great. Thank you very much, Robin. So next up then is Research Organisation Registry, or ROR. Maria Gould is going to present that. Maria's not actually here, so she has sent a recording of her presentation, which we're going to play now. We are... All right, we're having a bit of an issue. We will come back to ROR. ROR is not roaring quite as loud as we'd like, in which case we'll go to Signals, which is the next one up, and Elliot Lum is going to speak slightly earlier than he thought he was, but well done, Elliot, for doing that. And we'll go to Signals.
Oh, good. Oh, hey, everyone. Yes, I'm Elliot. I'm one of the co-founders of Signals. Okay, so trust in research is eroding. You know, researchers, editors come up to me all the time and say, like, I just don't know how to trust. You know, it's research that's submitted to me or I'm finding on the internet. And this is really a threat to publishers, a threat to research institutions, and it's a threat to society. If we can't trust in foundational knowledge in academic publications, like, what can we trust? And of course, the driver of this is large-scale research fraud, which we're kind of uncovering more and more of, with the most infamous case now being the Hindawi journals. There's many roots to this problem. You know, there's the pressure on researchers to publish. We've got the financial gains linked to the publishing process, but also it's just really hard to find all these issues at the scale that they're at. And as technology improves, again, it becomes harder and harder. So our mission is to restore trust in research. We want to help the research community to correct the scholarly record and prevent these publications from ever, well, articles from ever getting published. We're going to do this by providing researchers, institutions, and publishers with the information they need to understand both the trustworthiness and the value of research. So we believe it's really important that we engage with the entire research community. So like publishers need to know what they shouldn't publish, but researchers need to know what should I cite, what should I build upon, and institutions need to know, like, who should I hire? And of course, there's kind of shared responsibility between each of these players, such as retracting articles. And so they all need this information to make decisions on articles. That's what we want to provide. And we have an innovative way to kind of get these insights. So we have various data sources for the insights we provide. One of these is metadata. So this is information from the citation graph, from authors, institutions. What I really like about metadata is it improves over time. So as articles are cited, as more articles are published, we get more and more information. But we also think about expert evaluations. What I mean by this is, you know, say comments or questions or evaluations from like sleuths, researchers, even editors within a publisher, giving input onto articles. And we don't just kind of stop like at those signals. We network them. I can see that my different text has been used. By networking them, we're able to kind of amplify each of these signals and create new insights from the networks between them. So that's quite really rich information about articles. You can imagine finding pockets of problematic articles, also pockets of really trustworthy stuff too. We don't stop at our own data. We can take third-party data, but also publisher data too. You can imagine putting in peer-reviewed data, for example, and getting some really interesting and valuable insights out of that. Okay, so when you use signals, what do you see? Well, it's really important to us that the information that we provide is both transparent and actionable. So we'll provide an overall evaluation of an article. That could be that it's an alert, it could be that it looks good, but we'll also give you a summary so anyone can understand. And then, importantly, we show each of the signals that has created that evaluation, so you know exactly why we're flagging it. And then all the data and context below that, so you can investigate the article right there on signals. There are many use cases for this. For publishers, an important one is putting this at submission. Okay, so an article goes in, and then we'll give you the evaluation. Maybe that looks good, that's an alert. This is going to help you, stop the publication of problematic articles, but also fast-track quality articles. So when we give you an alert, you might have a reason to reject that article, because maybe it's a paper mill. And again, we'll provide you all the information you need to make that decision. It'll help protect your journal's reputation. But most times, research is actually legitimate and good. And so we'll tell you that it looks good. We'll tell you it's trustworthy, and we'll tell you why it's trustworthy. And this is really important because you don't have to spend lots of time doing research integrity investigations on articles that don't require it. Accuracy is, of course, important. So in terms of problematic articles, we identify 89% of those as alert or caution. Of course, this is something we're constantly improving. It's not just about finding the bad stuff, it's about false positives. So again, we don't want you spending time evaluating articles that you don't need to. So our approach here to reduce false positives is simple. We create a feedback loop between our publishing partners and users. So as I mentioned, our analysis is very transparent. So you can see exactly which signals have been pulled out of the article, which is creating that evaluation. So you can see when there's a false positive, you can tell us, and then we can fix that. And this has already been happening, and we've recently just changed some signals and added some new signals to reduce false positives. So all this is possible because of our team. It's of course not just me. There's Andrew Preston and Tiago Barras, co-founders. We've got Nico, our commercial lead, Florian, our lead engineer, who some of you might know from working on the Hindawi platform, and Christos, our analytics advisor. Really proud of our team. It's really driving things forward, and we've been brought together by this mission to restore trust in research that we're really passionate about. That's why I've talked a bit about publishers, but we're not stopping there. Next, it's research institutions, helping them to protect the integrity of the institutions, make sure collaboration's integrity. Then go beyond that to anyone who engages with research and being able to provide, we'll be able to provide article-level insight to them. So pharma, funders, government, corporates, and even media. And if we can do that, then we'll be able to restore trust in research. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much indeed, Elliot. Okay, so is the lion awake? Are we able to roar? We are able to roar. Fantastic. So over then to Maria Gould from Research Organisation Registry.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to be here virtually today. I appreciate the organizers letting me prepare this video. As a substitute, I'm sorry I cannot be there in person. I'm very happy and honored to have this opportunity to tell you about ROAR and what we are doing. That being said, I know that listening to a pre-recorded video at an in-person conference is not an optimal or fun experience for those in the audience, so I promise to keep this very brief. To start off, I'll just tell you a little bit about ROAR at a glance. ROAR stands for the Research Organization Registry. It is a registry of identifiers and metadata for more than 110,000 research and funding organizations around the world. All of this data is available openly and freely for anyone to use and integrate in publishing systems and many other types of systems involved in collecting information about institutions and the research outputs and activities that they are associated with. All of the data in this data set is available via an open API that everyone can use for building integrations or for matching organization names. And we maintain this data in an ongoing process through regular releases with a responsive, trusted, and active curation workflow. ROAR is designed specifically to work with other persistent identifiers, including in DOI metadata submitted to Crossref as well as DataCite, and in other identifier systems such as ORCID. ROAR itself is not an organization. It is a service that is jointly operated, funded, and maintained by 3 organizations in the publishing and research and library space, Crossref, DataCite, and California Digital Library. And that is all I'm really going to tell you about ROAR in this presentation today. I invite you to scan your phones at the QR code on the screen to access the ROAR website and learn more about what we are doing and how you can look up organizations in ROAR, how you can integrate the API in your systems, and how you can get more involved in the next phases of work as we continue to expand and support the registry. And the last point that I want to close on is just a note of thanks to the judging panel for selecting ROAR as a finalist for this award. I want to reflect a little bit on what we are doing in the context of innovation in publishing. It is an ironic and perhaps controversial point to make, but in a way, I don't think that the idea behind ROAR is all that innovative. I think we can all agree that metadata is much cleaner and easier to work with when we are not relying on messy and variable text strings, but rather attaching those text strings to some sort of standardized identifier. But that is not an idea that ROAR invented. This has been done before for organizations and other types of entities. Where I think ROAR has been innovative and is worthy of being considered as an innovation in publishing is in cutting through some of the complexity and silos and challenges that have been built up around this problem of how to identify organizations in an easy way, how to build that kind of metadata into publishing systems and publishing pipelines, and essentially solve this problem in a scalable way by making it possible to use just a single data set, meaning ROAR, that can be widely integrated across the publishing and research landscape to better connect up all of this information to work in conjunction with other types of identifiers that are out there, and to save all of us a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of headaches in wrangling this very important and essential piece of metadata. So those are my reflections on this moment. Thank you all for listening. Thank you again to the judges, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. And I invite you to be in touch with me if you would like to learn more about how to work with ROAR, how to integrate ROAR with your systems, and anything else that you might be curious about. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Maria. I'm very glad we found that video. Otherwise, I'd have had to communicate her slides through the medium of expressive dance, and I don't think you're ready for that. Our final speaker then is Adam Day from the Paper Mill Alarm. Adam.
Hi. Thank you very much for having me here. Where were we? 2022, and we knew there was a pretty big paper mill problem, and there were a lot of papers to sift through. And that was really the issue, is that there's so many of them. The journals market has been growing solidly since World War II. And what we need is we need a method that will take tens of millions of papers, and it will pick out the few that are problematic. And the solution to that problem is called the paper mill alarm. So the convention that we're going to use here is that the green stuff, that's the good stuff. There's loads of that. We want to find the few red ones. Okay, those are the bad ones. So there's one. There he goes. Okay, let's get him. Okay. So this is the AI. And the AI approach here is what we're doing is we're trying to separate those out. So we're taking all those green ones, the good guys, and we're trying to separate them from the bad guys. What we get at the end is this kind of visualization, which maybe is a little bit dim, but there's lots of green there. The green stuff's good. And this shows up the red stuff. So the publisher can go through this. This is actually interactive. You can go through this and look at these individual articles and find the patterns, and they know what to target. The other approach that we use quite extensively is network analysis. So just to give you an example of that, it's about the connections between things. So here we have authors, and the white lines tell us these authors have co-authored on research papers. Where the lines are red, those research papers contain tortured phrases. Now, tortured phrases are a very powerful signal for detecting research fraud, but unfortunately a very rare signal as well. What's interesting about this is that this is a region of the network where there are lots of them close to one another. And that's very strange. So they say they're very rare. They're a very rare signal, and this particular area, this is worth looking at more carefully. But there's lots of things we can look at in network analysis. So what we do is we put all those together, and we make something which we call Keystone. And Keystone is about bringing together all those different things and working out which individuals are most connected to paper milling. And if you're working with us already, you probably already know who some of those people are. If you work in publishing, well, you know that some of the value of what you put out is the content that goes out. But also, it's the content that doesn't go out. It's editorial that creates value. This is acutely the case with data analysis. What we don't want is to put out data that isn't helpful, insights that aren't helpful. And so let's imagine that we've got a bunch of different data pipelines like this, and we're feeding them into some sort of method to determine which ones are the good guys, which ones are the bad guys. What we do is something called ablation testing, which is where we just take pipelines away. We just take them away, and then we try them again, we try them again. Something funny that happens here, which is that even if you take away a good pipeline that works well, it will improve your model sometimes. So you learn a lot about what you should and shouldn't be doing through this kind of testing. And this is actually one of the more basic tests that we do. The results, I think, speak for themselves. We have the best estimate for the scale of the problem. This was reported last year in Nature News by Richard Van Noorden. I should say second best, we actually have a better one now, but you'll need to read my blog if you want to know more about that. We predicted the Hindawi retractions. We predicted the Chinese Academy of Sciences early warning lists. We predicted quite a lot of stuff, and this thing isn't fast enough. Sorry, my finger's getting tired. We predicted the Web of Science delistings. Yeah, quite a few of these, sorry. Okay, nearly there. Okay, but the end result is that you use the paper mill alarm, you scan all of the content coming in, and the paper mills go away. Dead simple. Okay, so the main thing that we want to do is take all of that complexity, those tens of millions of papers that we've analyzed, and make it as simple as possible, okay? So we issue alerts, and if there's an alert, the main thing you just need to do is get it to the best referees. That's really all it takes. Our data analysis shows that peer review is actually very effective at dealing with this problem. So we just need to make sure that those priority cases get in front of the right people. But we can go a bit further than that. So our web app will show you high-level trends. So we take this particular publisher here, and we can see that over time, they've had a problem that's got worse. Then it seems to have got a bit better. But right now, there are particular journals where we can zoom in and we can say, okay, this seems to have a problem where it's getting worse. We need to focus here and deal with this problem first. Then we go down to the article level. We can start to say, okay, which articles do we want to look at first? Again, prioritize them, and then start to look at the individual signals within those articles as well. It's an adaptive system. We make predictions, publishers use them, save time, and then we use the data to adapt our system to make it perpetually better. This is all done under a data sharing agreement. So you own your data, you control your data, we analyze it for you. Collaboration is key. As I say, we already collaborate with a lot of publishers, but we also collaborate with other people in this industry so that you can get our service wherever it's most convenient for you. One last thing, we have a browser extension, which is new. If you're interested in that, get in touch, give me a call. And that's it. Thank you for having me here, and I'll look forward to talking to you.
Thank you very much, Adam. Excellent. Okay, so you've now heard from all of our finalists. I'm sure you'll agree they're all worthy finalists and a very difficult decision for us as judges to make. But we have made our decisions, and we'll be announcing that tomorrow night at the awards dinner.